Alright. Good morning, everybody. Today, I'd like to talk to you about the ineffectiveness of the American drug war and explore some solutions to the problems that it creates. Currently, the drug problem should be treated as a public health issue, not a criminal one. The current tactics of the drug war are prohibition and zero-tolerance policies. It seems like this would work on paper, however, the adverse is actually true. Prohibition has never been a relevant tactic for substance control. I believe we learned this lesson well enough during the 1920s, during alcohol prohibition. The National Bureau of Economic Research has stated that alcohol use spiked 70% during this era. Alcohol consumption in children, violent crime, and alcohol-related death was also on the rise. The modern war on drugs has the same effect as alcohol prohibition nowadays. In 2001, the Drug Policy Alliance stated that 32,000 deaths were attributed to accidental overdose in this country alone. Because of the drug war, many states have heavy restrictions on the availability of hypodermic needles, and that makes needle sharing more common. It's projected that 1/3 of all HIV cases are contracted from dirty needles. So, since the launch of the drug war, usage and addiction rates have steadily risen and now sit at an all-time high. Obviously, by looking at the mistakes of the past and the problems of the present, prohibition is obviously an ineffective tactic. One of the only quantifiable effects of prohibition is price elevation, and statistics show that price elevation has no effect on usage rates. Therefore, the heightened prices only mean more profits and power to drug gangs and cartels. This money is being used for weaponry, bribery, political influence, and of course, higher and higher supplies. Because of this increase in monetary power, the drug war in Mexico is uglier than ever. Drug cartels have murdered upwards of 70,000 people since 2006. Law enforcement is also ineffective at absolving these issues. Incarceration, police funding is continually elevating and is now at an all-time high. However, usage, supply, and addiction rates also stand at an all-time high. And despite this fact, 2/3 of the current drug budget is spent on law enforcement as opposed to treatment and education. On the topic of the budget, when we contrast the effectiveness of the program to the funding that it receives, it's obvious that the budget is disgustingly too high. Expenditure has steadily risen and now sits at $12 billion a year. Since the foundation of the drug war, it has cost the American public over $1 trillion. Despite these increases, the problems have grown as well as the budget. Another side effect of the war on drugs is the lack of purity control caused by the underground market. It's incredibly common for people to cut or simply substitute common drugs for cheaper, more unstable chemicals. MDMA, methylene dioxyamphetamine, is a common club drug with a generally low toxicity rate and it's very rarely habit-forming. It's often substituted for a drug called paramethoxyamphetamine, which is far cheaper to produce and cheaper to manufacture, and has a toxicity rate of 8 to 12 times higher than that of MDMA. Another problem with the unregulated market is the lack of purity control. So here in Denver, the heroin that we find in this city is generally of very low purity. So given the event where a shipment of higher quality heroin came into the state, people would be likely, well, there's no way of testing the purity of it, so people would be likely to use the same dosage that they generally do of the low quality heroin. This is an incredibly common event and often leads to accidental overdose and death. Botched synthesis is another problem caused by an unregulated market. I'm sure some of you have seen this viral article going around the internet about this new drug coming out called Crocodile. It's basically a bathtub wash of heroin. It's made from gasoline, red phosphorus, and the opiates found in codeine. And it's creating a rash of flesh-eating diseases and extreme overdose rates all over the Southwest, and is becoming more and more of an issue as time goes on. So, given that these adverse effects created by the tactics of the war on drugs, it's safe to say that policy reform is certainly in order. The drug problem should be treated as a public health issue, not a legal one. All illegal substances should not only be decriminalized, but regulated and provided by distribution clinics. That would cut down theft and violent crime by addicts in pursuit of a fix, and remove all power from drug gangs and cartels. We must reroute the current drug war expenditure into needle exchange programs, safe injection rooms, and education programs. This would keep addicts off of the streets and give them a safe place to wean them off of their current lifestyles. And the Center of Disease Control states that this would cut down HIV and hepatitis C contractions by 80%. Although the tactics seem radical, they have worked in other parts of the world. In the year 2000, Portugal became the first country in the Western world to adopt these policies. At the time of the reform, Portugal ranked #1 in the European Union for usage and addiction. At this time, they ranked the lowest in usage of all drugs, and statistics have especially dropped in target groups such as 15 to 19-year-olds. Drug-related diseases such as HIV and hepatitis C have also diminished substantially. So in conclusion, if we are truly trying to cut down on usage and addiction, this system of drug policy must be implemented. If we are truly talking about social responsibility and keeping the populace safe and healthy, we must radicalize and lift our cultural biases on these substances and their users. It is easy to demonize and incriminate, but this has been shown to push us in the wrong direction. If we truly want to heal this country, we must throw out the systems that have been shown not to work and adopt those that will truly benefit society. Thank you.
Okay.